Hello everyone, glad to be back. This video gonna be second update on my channel today. If you did not see first update, please do so. If you have time, you may find it interesting. When it comes to this update, first of all, let me say that today is 11th of April. Now it's almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze, and this is my channel in which I share latest news on topics that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. So as I said, this is second update. There is quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you. So let's begin in order to make this video as short as possible. So first news will be from TASS news agency. Just about an hour, maybe a little bit more ago, media outlets in Russia did publish statements from Evgeny Prigozhin, head of PMC Wagner. He did made a video statement which I did share on my Telegram channel, and according to his statements, Russian side do control over 80% of Artyomovsk, which is Bakhmut. Of course, you all know that this city has two names. Same time, according to Prigozhin, Russian side controls all the manufacturing plants in the city and all the administrative buildings. And Zelensky's regime, under control of Zelensky's regime, just a little corner in the western part of the city. Let me show you on the map that area. Probably you very much familiar with these maps already, especially when it comes to Bakhmut, because this battle is continuing for quite a while now. So that's the Bakhmut area, and you can see even this pro-Ukrainian map do acknowledge that about 70-80% of town definitely under Russian control, and only this western corner is still under control of Zelensky's regime. But yet again, I did share in morning's update information that according to PMC Wagner fighters, Zelensky's regime is trying to, during the night time, withdraw more or less battle-ready units from the town, and the majority of Ukrainian fighters in this city are mobilized one and with poor equipment, poor training, and even poor knowledge of where they are, basically. And because of that, they cannot maneuver during the fight, and they are basically they can get lost in the city because they don't know, they cannot orient themselves inside this even this small pocket of Bakhmut. That's how poorly trained those mobilized reservists really are. And I believe PMC Wagner units do take many prisoners, but as I understand, we will learn about it in detail after entire city will be under full Russian control. It's only a matter of days, I believe. So let's continue now. This is still TASS news agency's report, and we have statement from aide of the head of DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, Igor Kimakovsky. So Igor Kimakovsky said that Russian side is taking huge number of prisoners in Avdiivka direction, and let me show you once again Avdiivka. It's a little bit south from Bakhmut. That's it. If you want to orient, I mean, when you zoom in on the map, it's Donetsk direction. You will easily find Avdiivka this way. So this is Avdiivka. As you can see, quite similarities when it comes to Avdiivka and Bakhmut situation. Only difference is, and huge difference really, that Bakhmut did had Chisov next to it, and this way Bakhmut garrison was able to move in and out and receive some reinforcement and ammunition when Avdiivka is quite isolated from some other big, more or less big towns. And that's why situation for Avdiivka garrison is much more difficult, as I understand. And according to this person, aide of Denis Pushilin, who is head of DPR, according to Igor Kimakovsky, Russian side is taking big number of POWs. Yet again, when I was reading this information, I did remember a video that I did share with you about a week ago on Telegram channel. And on that video, Ukrainian soldiers, mobilized soldiers that were sent to Avdiivka, they were saying that they did get lost in the city. They don't know where their position is on the city map. They cannot orient themselves, and basically they were lost. And exactly during the time when they were recording this video, some shootout broke up in that building, and nothing is known. Nothing is known what happened to those soldiers. Maybe they were taken prisoner. Quite possible, but I did remember this episode because it seems like majority of Avdiivka's garrison also mobilized reservists, and if that's the case, then I have no reason to doubt this statement from Igor Kimakovsky. Probably those mobilized reservists will take first opportunity to lay down arms and surrender, because that will be right decision. That just will be right decision. Probably best decision of the life. So let's continue now. And we have one more statement from aide of Denis Pushilin, who is head of DPR. This time Yan Gagin did make some statements, and he said that probably he was asked about Western-made battle tanks on the front line, and he said that Russian side did not really notice any Western-made battle tanks on the front line. No Abrams, no Leopard, no Challengers, no nothing. Just Soviet-era T-64 and T-72s, or for example T-72 Polish or Czech tanks that were based on T-72s, but not Western-made battle tanks, and that's quite understandable. As I said many times before, my understanding is that Zelensky's regime will use Western-made battle tanks, all of them, Leopard 2s, Leopard 1s. I believe they did already receive some quantity of Leopard 1 tanks. Also Challenger 2 tanks. They will use those vehicles when they will start counteroffensive in direction of Azov Sea, in direction of Melitopol, Berdyansk, possibly Mariupol, basically in direction of this land bridge from Crimea to mainland Russia. You know my take on this, anticipated by many counteroffensive. I believe Zelensky's regime will fail 100%. I have no reason to doubt this position. I'm quite sure once Zelensky's regime will start this counteroffensive, it will be beginning of the end of Zelensky himself, at least as a president of Ukraine. That's how sure I am that they will fail. They had no chance to achieve anything really, and even Western and even US officials, for example, are now in private talks with media, are recognizing that the chances on success for Zelensky's regime are very slim to none, basically. So that's how it's gonna be. And when they will start this counteroffensive in this area towards this land bridge, we will probably see Western-made battle tanks, and then it will take only maybe even hours, and we will probably see on Telegram channels videos and photo confirmations that Western-made battle tanks were destroyed. Some of them, I'm quite sure, will end up in Russian manufacturing plants that are working on the tanks. and also eventually in Russian military museums. That's logical. It seems logical to me. So let's continue now, and next news that I'd like to share with you is about yet again these so-called secret documents that was leaked to internet, secret US documents that was leaked to internet, and we have a report here, which is TASS news agency is reporting based on CNN. It seems like CNN did make some material about this topic. So according to this news, Washington is now trying to understand how big of a scale this leak is really, and to be honest, more Western media, and after Western media, more other main media outlets do talk about this story. More reason I have to believe that entire this company is a deception. Entire this company, or with these documents, and entire this hysteria is deception. And this statement and CNN is reporting this material on base of press speaker of Pentagon, basically. Press speaker of head of Pentagon, Chris Migera, and according to statements from Chris Migera, Washington and Pentagon is trying to realize how big of a link or how big of a scale this leakage has to deal with this issue. But yet again, my take was from very beginning that this story is a fake story. This is a deception campaign from Washington and from US, not just from Pentagon, but from with the involvement of CIA, I'm quite sure, and probably White House, some officials from White House, maybe not Biden, because he will by mistake probably will start talking about it during one of his interviews to media. And basically, I did not change my opinion. I believe those documents itself, they are probably real ones. They were made in Pentagon or some other governmental institution. But information inside those documents are fake. Some of them must be true, because that's how deception works. You should put some real information so that when side that you want to mislead, once they will check this and realize, oh, this part of this information, is true, then you do have some chance that your opponent side, who you want to confuse, will take as a true entire documents, entire information that are released in those documents. But everyone knows this technology. Everyone knows this technology, and I'm quite sure Russian side is taking cautious approach towards entire this story. That's how it's supposed to be, at least. So of course, documents itself are authentic ones. Some information, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50% even information inside those documents, irrelevant, more or less irrelevant information, probably are correct, but rest of the information that has a true importance are fake, in my opinion. That's how they did try to conduct this deception operation. And as I said, more they talk about it, more reasons I have to mistrust entire this story. So that's my take on it. Anyway, and it seems like this story will not end today or tomorrow. Washington, it looks like Washington will continue with this story at least for next week, or maybe before Zelensky's regime will start to conduct its announced counteroffensive. Let's see. but I don't trust them, and no one should, in my opinion, yet again. But everyone has its own mind, and let's continue now. And this is very interesting. This news makes headlines in Russian media and in Russian language pages on internet. And I did translate this information especially for you to read it. So State Duma, that's Duma is Russian parliament. So State Duma adopted in the third and final reading a law that involves the creation of a unified register of persons liable for military service, and introduces electronic requests. So basically, once Putin will sign this law, in Russia, some unified register will be created of all the men that can be called for military service. And this topic is creating some noise right now in Russian pages on internet and in Ukrainian pages on internet, because many people are talking about upcoming new wave of mobilization. And let me read it further. The military registration register is formed by military commissariats in the manner prescribed by the government of the Russian Federation in an automated mode based on information from the state information resources. It also follows from it that electronic request will duplicate paper ones. So in Russia we have a service that called Gosuslugi. So basically you can, whenever you have something to do with state institutions, you can go to this service Gosuslugi online, and without need to go to directly go to some these governmental institutions and talk to some officials. You can directly through this program, through this service, make some appointments or pay for some state services. Let's say you want to take passport, receive new passport. You will pay fee by this program, with this program, and you will receive timing when you should go to office, and you will just go there, and it's easy and simple. You will receive your passport without any need to interrupt with some officials in between. So it's a quite a successful service, let me say so. Now, according to this law, this service Gosuslugi will be used to send this request to arrive in commissariats. Commissariats is institutions that are calling up reservists. So you will receive requests by electronic means, not just paper one, but you may also receive electronic through this Gosuslugi, and you have to then go to commissariat. That's a requirement from this law. So let me read it. It also follows from it that electronic request will duplicate paper ones. So you may receive paper one or an electronic one. They can be sent to a person liable for military service in writing against receipt or by registered mail with acknowledgement of receipt. An electronic request will be considered delivered from the moment it is posted in your personal account. So everyone, not everyone, but who uses this Gosuslugi has its own personal account. I do, for example. And if there will be, for example, mobilization, commissariats can send this electronic request to me on my personal account. So moreover, if the request is not considered to be delivered in writing or electronically, it will be considered as such after 7 days from the date of its placement in the register of subpoenas. So that's quite interesting one. If you did not receive a written one, this request from commissariat, or electronic one, this law will take it as a delivered after 7 days that you have been enlisted to be mobilized. I don't know how this will work. I don't really understand this episode, but so the request should indicate the legal consequences of citizens' failure to comply with the requirements set forth in them, or for example, dodgers are people who will try to dodge this request, who do not appear at the military enlistment office, that's commissariat basically, within 20 days after receiving the request, are threatened with the restriction of the right to leave the country or drive a vehicle, for example. So I hope I did explain this news well enough. But basically what is happening is that there will be unified register of all the military age citizens of Russian Federation, and they may, if any mobilization, basically, if anyone is called in military service, they may, before it was like you have to receive a paper request. If you did not receive personally this paper request, you don't have to do anything really. It's up to you. But now there is two options. You may receive paper request or electronic requests. So when it comes to electronic request, because many citizens of Russia do have this gosuslugi like I do, it's gonna be very difficult for let's say dodgers to say, you know what, I did not know, I did not see, I did not receive, or anything like that. And if by law there will be restriction to leave country, then dodgers do end up in trouble, because as you remember, there were quite a few, not just quite a few, but basically tens of thousands of people fled Russia after first wave of mobilization did take place. Probably remember that story. And it's, I never say anything critical about those people, because it's their life, and who am I to judge? God bless everyone, for God's sake. I don't have a problem with it. Everyone should live by his own mind and principles. But now, if there will be second wave of mobilization, and I believe there will be, in coming months, 2-3 months time, probably we will have a second wave of mobilization, and I did talk about it in my first update today, so no need to repeat myself here. But if second wave of mobilization will take place, people that want to avoid mobilization will have a trouble to do so, because it will be much harder for them to flee country. So that's why this topic is making headlines in Russian media, Russian internet, in Russian language internet, and let's see how it will go. Quite possible, that's just my opinion, quite possible that after today, in coming days, we may see some new waves of people that are trying to flee Russia before mobilization have been announced, even though officials, high-ranking officials, one by one are saying that no mobilization in plans. But yet again, not everyone trusts officials. And as I said, everyone should make up its own mind and act according to principles that they have. So yes, I would not be surprised if quite a few people will try to flee Russia after this law have been approved. Let's continue now, and yes, we have a statement from Peskov exactly about this topic, and he once again, I cannot even remember this is how many times he did already spoke about new wave of mobilization, but today he was also asked about this topic, and he said once again that there is no mobilization in the plan, and this law that I just spoke about is about just unifying information about reservists, so that state institutions will operate more effectively. So, as I said, high-ranking officials are denying any plans to mobilize reservists, even though me personally, I think not today and not tomorrow, but in 2-3 months time, we will probably, maybe even earlier than that, we will probably see mobilization once again in Russia. So, and not because this mobilized, not because Russian Defense Ministry need mobilized reservists to throw them on the front line and conduct some offensive operations. No, my belief is that if there will be mobilization, mobilized reservists will operate in territories that are already under Russian control to conduct some policing operations, basically. That's my take on it, but yet again, I'm not military expert, and yes, I don't know what plans Kremlin has really. Let's continue now, and this is TASS News Agency's report, according to which head of Foreign Ministry of Hungary is in Moscow right now, and he is conducting negotiations with Russian counterparts about some about energy, basically energy deals, contracts in energy sector. And during this visit, he will have a meeting with Russian government officials. He will have a meeting with leading people in Rosatom. Rosatom is a structure that operates Russian nuclear sector, civilian nuclear sector, nuclear power plants included. And Peter Szijjártó, that's the name of foreign minister of Hungary. And during this visit, he said that Europe was lucky this year because winter was not too cold, and despite this ordeal with the energy supply from Russia to Europe, EU member states did manage to go through winter without some catastrophic effect, but he thinks next winter may be very much different, and that's why I believe Hungary taking a cautious approach, and they are trying to make some even new contracts with Russia, especially when it comes to nuclear energy and gas. And I believe because of policies that Hungary is conducting, because Hungary is no way anti-Russian or Russophobic. Hungary's government, I mean, is very diplomatic and very professional. Let's say how it is. how it truly is. And because of all this stuff, I believe Moscow will have no issues to sign new contracts with Hungary in any direction, really, not just energy, but in any other direction also. Let's continue, and this is quite interesting news. Swiss officials denied information from US officials about freezing additional Russian assets in Switzerland. This is quite interesting information because it seems like US officials did demand from Switzerland, that's how I read it at least, this story, did demand from Swiss officials to freeze additional assets of Russian citizens and Russian companies in Switzerland. And we are talking about from 50 to 100 billion francs. And because Swiss already taking damage when it comes to reputation, because Switzerland is formally still neutral state. I mean, Swiss officials did realize that if they did not react on such information straight away, this damage will become even greater. And that's why they are saying that they have no plans to sanction or to freeze any Russian assets whatsoever, in addition of 7.5 billion francs that was frozen because of Western sanctions. And yes, this is, let's say, nice try, but yet again, damage is already done. And Switzerland is no longer can be seen, or maybe some people maybe still think Switzerland is a neutral state, but me personally, no. Switzerland did not act as a neutral state, unfortunately, and I believe majority in this planet thinks, if you ask them, will say probably the same. And that's why Swedish banking system is in trouble right now, because people lose trust that Swiss banks and Switzerland itself did enjoy for decades and decades, while they did truly play this neutral role. But now situation is different, and yes, Bern is trying to, I mean, minimize damage to its reputation, but it's I believe it's just too late. And me personally, I don't really care. Let them freeze all Russian assets, man. I don't have any account anywhere, only in Russia. So me personally, I just don't care, man. More Russian assets they will freeze, more damage will be done to Switzerland itself, and much greater than those 50 or 100 billion francs that Russian oligarchs or rich people or companies do have in Switzerland still. I don't understand why they have any assets in Switzerland, really. But, let them freeze it all. Who cares, man? So let's continue now. And this is RIA Novosti's report. Quite interesting news. According to which share of Russian ruble in Russian foreign trade, in Russian export, had reached 30%, which is basically almost the same as share of US dollar in Russian export, which is unbelievable, isn't it? Just recently, a few years ago, US dollar was the main currency when it comes to Russian exports. And now Russian ruble, Russian own currency, has the same share that US dollar had US dollar has right now. So just imagine how quickly position of US dollar was dropped in trade with Russia, and this number will this trend will continue. This trend, not just with Russia, but also with many other countries. And probably you are familiar with news that more and more countries are now openly saying that in foreign trade they will use national currencies or some other currencies. For example, Chinese currencies, Chinese yuan is very popular. Also, dirham of United Arab Emirates are quite popular. So yes, US dollar is losing its little by little, losing its position when it comes to as a main reserve currency of this world. But yet again, that's what Biden administration did. No one forced them to do so, but you know. And and by the way, euro is much less. I mean, Russian ruble and dollar. Russian ruble now reach same share that US dollar has in Russian export, but euro is euro has much smaller share. So euro is not even close to Russian ruble when it comes to foreign trade. And this is gonna be last news for this evening's update. And now we have RT's report that numerous countries cast doubt on Pentagon leaks. So it seems like more days go by with this story of secret documents. More and more people, including officials in different countries, are doubting authenticity, or not documents itself. Probably documents truly are authentic, but information that are presented by those documents. That information is, I mean, questionable, and RT is reporting that many states now are doubting that information is correct, which is absolutely understandable. And yes, this is it. This is it for now. I hope you will find this video interesting. 37 minutes. Wow, I did not expect that. But it's at least it's not hour, isn't it? Still quite short. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like. If you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, or any other platform that you are active on. That will greatly increase my chances to reach wider audience. And if you think this channel is okay, has some potential and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donation through PayPal, or subscribe to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. Once again, thank you very much for your attention and support. Have a nice day and take care. See you soon.